Do your home videos look like this? Hi, I'm Danny McMaster from Australia's funniest home video show, and welcome to Video Maker. It seems that just about every family owns a video camera these days, and why not? They're great fun. Well, at least until you get trapped in front of your neighbour's TV, watching 3 hours of highlights from little Johnny's first assault on walking. And with this video, we hope to teach you how to avoid inflicting this kind of torture on others by using some basic movie-making skills and a few tricks of the trade. By the end of this video, you should be producing home video movies that are timeless treasures and not your neighbour's or family's worst nightmare. Now let's start by looking at the various video formats that are currently available to the budding Spielberg. This is your standard VHS cassette, and it's exactly the same format as the tape you're now watching. The advantage with the VHS format camcorder is that you can take the tape straight out of the camera and play it on your home VCR, or vice versa. The downside is that the cameras are usually large and bulky compared to the smaller compact size of other formats available. VHS-C is still a VHS format, but in a smaller cassette. This helps bring down the size of the camera, but you'll need an adapter to play the tape on your home VCR. Video 8 is another popular format on the market. The cameras are small and light, but while the picture quality is quite good, you can't play a Video 8 tape in your home VCR, even with an adapter. It is possible, however, to connect the camera directly to your TV for playback. When it comes to picture quality, Super VHS-C and Hi 8 are the cream of the crop. The machines and tapes are a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it if you're after professional-looking home movies. The quality of image achievable using the VHS-C format is equivalent to the pictures that were reproduced by professional news cameras as little as just 5 years ago. And that's from something that's now smaller than a tissue box. Another function available on most camcorders these days is short play or long play, SP or LP. This function will extend the recording time or length of your cassette to double its duration. One thing to keep in mind though when choosing which function, tapes recorded in short play are better quality. Okay, so now that you've chosen the format that's right for you, you're ready to launch yourself into the incredible world of video movie making.
Right, get rid of all that. We're here to learn something. Batteries. Right, for a start, they make your camera run. And if they run out on you, you've had it. Just like that. This is a camera battery. As is this. This is not. And neither is this. This is a pound of sausages, a subtle reminder from my wife to get dinner on the way home. Right, come on, settle down.
Basically, there are two types of batteries you can use in your camcorders, the NiCad battery and the sealed lead acid battery. It's very important for you to know which sort you've got because they need to be taken care of and recharged in very different ways. The easiest way to explain the operation and charging of NiCad and sealed lead acid batteries is by using this water tank as an example. The NiCad battery is the most commonly used in home video cameras these days. The key feature of this type of battery is that it will stop operating or go flat at the minimum level that battery should be drained to, 9 volts. This is indicated by the low battery warning light in your viewfinder of your camera. And eventually, the camera will cut out. If your battery was to be drained below 9 volts, it could be permanently damaged. Once flat, you then recharge your battery to its full capacity, 12 volts, or the top of the tank. Overcharging your batteries does not increase its operating time or capacity. By overcharging, say to 13 volts, it simply spills over the possible limit of the battery, unable to store any more. Overcharging above 12 volts will eventually reduce the overall operating capacity of your battery over a period of time. The other type of battery available is the sealed lead-acid battery. These batteries are usually found in older model cameras or external battery packs for cameras and lights. This battery is different in that it can go flat past its critical point of 10.8 volts, damaging the battery permanently. It is often difficult to recharge a battery once it has been drained past 10.8, like trying to get water from the tank under the level of the tap. It is therefore important to change batteries or stop recording once the low battery warning light has come on. When charged, some batteries may read 13, 14, or even 15 volts when tested, but once connected to your camera and operated, they will immediately return to a 12-volt reading. The one thing to remember with batteries is that there are many different types to choose from and many different ways to care for and charge them. It's important to read the manual with your camera to find out exactly what batteries you have and how to charge and care for them. Like batteries, all chargers are not the same. While a basic recharge unit may be all you need, it's worth investigating the other chargers that are available to you. Another popular type of charger is the refresh or intelligent charger. This unit analyzes the energy cells within the battery and recharges it to its full power potential. Just remember, with care and correct operation, your batteries will last a lot longer and perform better.
To get the longest possible life from your battery, it's a good idea not to do this. This. Or this.
Hello, I'm 007, and this is my video maker handy hint. If you've got an old camcorder battery that's hard to charge or doesn't last long after recharging, you ask your video retailer about having it resold. Well, this process may restore the battery to its original strength, and it will only cost you about a third of what you pay to replace the battery. And remember, batteries are meant to be charged, not shaken or stirred.
Most camcorders on the market today are lightweight and designed for easy handheld operation. This allows you the freedom to follow the action as it happens, adding a sense of life and drama to your work as you adjust the height, angle and composition of the shot simply by changing your position. The biggest problem with handheld shots is camera shake, but this can be significantly reduced if you follow a couple of simple guidelines. Firstly, you'll achieve the best results if you keep the camera lens open as wide as possible. This will keep any shakiness to a minimum. Stand with your feet apart and distribute your weight evenly, using your left hand to provide extra support. Avoid using your zoom lens and instead move physically closer to your subject, once again to combat the wobbles. And wherever possible, use something stable to support yourself, a tree, a doorway, even somebody's shoulder. Another quick tip is to keep an eye on those horizons, making sure they're parallel. Applying these practical guidelines to your handheld camera work will give you great results and a video that people will enjoy watching. Handheld shots work best if you remain stationary, but if you have to move to keep up with the action, to show a better view, or to create a dramatic effect, then use the method known as crabbing. Keeping the knees slightly bent, move along slowly and smoothly, swinging one leg in front of your body and bringing the other one round to the side. Moving in this fashion minimizes the jerkiness created by normal walking movement. Kneeling down makes for a steady shooting position and gives a good eye line for children or people sitting down. Lying down, using the elbows as a support, provides the ideal angle for viewing pets, babies and other floor-bound subjects. When filming in a seated position, resting on something like a windowsill, chair or table, it will give you extra control. Whatever situation you're filming in, just remember to hold the camera firmly, keep it as steady as you can, and use a prop or support whenever possible. But most of all, enjoy yourself.
Hello, this is Jerry, and this is my video maker handy hint. If you need to walk backwards to get a particular shot, it's a good idea to have someone spot or look out for obstruction for you. I still have
Okay, so you've had a chance to practice your handheld camera work and are probably getting pretty good at it too. But I bet you're still plagued with the wobbles in some situations, right? But the use of a tripod provides many advantages, not the least of them being an obvious reduction in camera shake and unwanted movement. When setting up your tripod, make sure it is securely placed on a level surface and is set at a satisfactory height for operation. Position yourself comfortably within its legs, hold the pan handle firmly with one hand, and use the other hand to adjust the camera's controls. To check that the tripod is set on a level plane, look through the viewfinder and gently move the camera left and right, using the horizon as a guide. Most tripods now have a bubble or spirit level, so you can make sure your tripod head is level. If the view remains level, your tripod is correctly positioned. The tripod allows for a wide range of fluid, steady movements, and because it is much steadier than a handheld camera, it allows you to move smoothly from one subject to another. This is an obvious advantage when using a telephoto lens or when filming your subject in close-up. A tripod will also let you swivel the camera from one side to the other in one smooth, continuous motion. This action, called a pan, short for panoramic, is ideal for viewing things that are too wide to fit into one standard shot, or for following the action of a moving subject. When trying this action, pick a start and finishing point and hold on these for a couple of seconds. Keep the movement smooth and steady, panning in a maximum arc of about 90 degrees. The tripod also helps to move the camera up and down to film objects that are too tall to fit into the frame, or to follow the action of a subject moving up or down. Called a tilt, the same rules apply to this action as to panning. Just remember to hold the camera securely, and when tilting upward in outdoor situations, avoid shooting directly into the sun. A major advantage in using a tripod is that it allows you, the camera operator, to be in the picture. But remember, once you've set up the shot, make sure you lock off the tripod mechanisms securely.
Hi, the camera. Oh, nice one, Buffhead.
Tripods make it easy to perform pan and tilts and to film from all sorts of wonderful angles, but keep the golden rule of video making in mind. Only use any of these functions in moderation and plan and rehearse each shot before you commit it to tape.
Hi, this is Jack, and this is my Video Maker Handy Hint. If you don't have a tripod available, why not rest the camera in a beanbag or a sock filled with sand? The camera can be balanced on either. The sand or beans within the bag forming a temporary nest, which will hold the camera in a fairly steady position. Like I always say, steady as she goes, man.
It's delightful to see the three lovely Smurd sisters out here sewing in the garden. You girls will have that quilt finished in next to no time. Oh, and here comes little baby Barry. Oh, it's good to see him crawling about the place at such an early age.
Focus might seem to be the easiest function to understand on your camcorder, but there are still a few basic guidelines to follow. For a start, there are two ways to focus your camcorder, automatically or manually. The autofocus measures the distance between the subject and camera lens and adjusts itself automatically. Always remember that your main subject should be framed by the focus points displayed in your viewfinder. The exact system varies from camera to camera, but the principle of autofocus is the same. This will ensure that the camera doesn't focus on the wrong thing, which is what our friend here has been doing all along. He hasn't been focusing directly on one particular subject, so the camera has picked its own. Perhaps switching to manual focus would help him out. Firstly, switch your camera to manual focus, then zoom in as tight as possible on your subject. Adjust the focus ring until the details are sharp. Next, re-widen the zoom. This will give you constant focus throughout the entire zoom range.
Oh, and here's Auntie Dulcie. And don't those scones smell good? Oh, will you look at that? It's not Auntie Dulcie at all. In fact, I don't know any of these people. I'm at the wrong party. Oh, you fool. You've done it again.
Hey, this is Telly, and this is my Video Maker Handy Hint, baby. If shooting through glass or water, it's a good idea to switch to manual focus, as the autofocus function may try to focus on the glass or the water instead of the subject. The problem may also occur while trying to shoot through Venetian blinds or fences. Yeah, who loves you, baby?
Depth of field relates to the clearly focused area between a subject that is closest to the camera and one that is further away. Confusing? I know. But if you set your lens to its widest angle, your subjects will remain in focus throughout the range of the shot, no matter how far they're distanced from one another. By moving back from your subject, in this case, me, and then zooming in on my face until it comes into focus, everything behind me and in front of me is out of focus, while my face remains sharp and clear. Depth of field can be used creatively to make a subject stand out from the background and foreground, giving the shot a creative feel. Or it can emphasize the drama of a scene by transferring visual focus from a subject in the foreground to one in the background. The way in which you frame and focus a shot will determine the practical applications of depth of field. The wider the lens is opened, the greater your depth of field becomes. The tighter you zoom in, the more you reduce your depth of field. The further away your camera is from the subject, the better the depth of field. Depth of field is improved under brightly lit conditions and restricted when light is low. And depth of field extends further behind a subject than it does in front of it. The best way to understand the principle of depth of field is to experiment using your own camcorder. Practice by focusing on different objects that are placed apart at varying distances, and you'll soon see how the focus changes from one item to the other. It may take you a while to understand depth of field, but hang in there. Once you get it, you'll be shooting interesting and creative video with the best of them. Just like the human eye, your camcorder has an adjustable iris which calculates the amount of light allowed into the camera. An easy example is shown by using this 35mm camera. In bright light, the aperture, the opening which controls the amount of light entering the lens, is reduced in size. In low light, it is increased. In short, the amount the iris is opened determines the overall exposure of your shot. Virtually every video camera on the market today is equipped with an automatic exposure facility. The camera's iris responds to the amount of light available in each shot and adjusts the aperture automatically as the quality of light changes during your shot. Being an automatic electronic system, your auto exposure facility will adjust to the brightest part of the picture. But look what happens when you walk in front of a brighter background. The camera exposes to the background. Now, some camcorders have a backlight button to compensate for this, so all you need to do is press the backlight button, and the camera lens will open up and brighten the subject in the foreground. Don't shoot large amounts of sky and outside shots, especially on white, cloudy days, as this may cause your subject to appear dark or in shadow. And avoid moving from one scene to another, where an extreme contrast of light can confuse the camera's automatic system and result in your subject becoming a ghostly silhouette. When filming outdoors, the rule of thumb is to have the sun over your shoulder. It's an easy way to determine the best position for your camera in relation to the sun. Film around your subject, then replay the tape inside and decide which angle the subject looks best from. In some cases, the most common exposure problems can be solved by adjusting the manual exposure or iris control. By switching to manual exposure, you are able to control the amount of light entering your camera, avoid under or overexposure, and obtain the correct setting for the shot required. Whatever the conditions, though, take time out to consider your camera's aperture settings. You'll have a better chance of shooting sharp, clearly defined pictures, and your subjects will always gain the most favorable exposure possible. All camcorders have a zoom function, allowing you to zoom fast or slow. When used properly, the zoom function on your camcorder can add a whole new sense of life to your video presentations, taking the viewer from wide general shots into detailed and intimate close-ups. Let's look at how the zoom lens can add some real jazz to your home movies.
This is something you'll never see in films or in television, and if you tried this in video school, they'd break your fingers. It's called tromboning. In, out, zoom, zoom, and it drives people mad. It's best to think your shot through. If you can rehearse your shot before zooming, or stop recording and zoom into your subject for a close-up and then continue. Erratic zooming often makes your videos hard to watch and leaves your audience seasick. The first thing to establish is the correct focus throughout the entire range of the zoom. Zoom in on the closest thing you intend to shoot and focus on it clearly. Then, as you zoom back, everything along the pathway of your zoom will remain clearly focused and easy to watch. Of course, if you change the actual direction of the camera at any time, you'll need to zoom in close again and refocus. But by practicing your zooms before you record them, you're guaranteed to get the shot or effect you're after. Bear in mind that any effect used too often becomes annoying to the viewer, so perform your zooms sparingly and only when it will enhance or benefit your shots. So 4 things to remember about the zoom control. Focus in nice and tight to establish focus throughout the range of the shot. Practice your zooms before you record. Don't overuse the function, and avoid the dreaded video trombone.
Hi, this is Cars, and this is my Video Maker handy hint. A long zoom shot can make for really interesting video, but it also highlights any camera movement. If you're using a long zoom, make sure you have a sturdy tripod to keep the shot as steady as possible.
When we see light, we imagine it to be just one color, white. In fact, different sources of light emit different colors, and our eye adjusts to these color differences automatically. The same doesn't apply to the camera. The camera lens will show up these differences, so we need to know what type of light we can expect in different situations and how to use light and color to our advantage. Let's look at a color temperature scale.
Lining up now for the color temperature stakes. Please remember that the color temperature of any light source is measured in Kelvin degrees. By way of comparison, average daylight is about 5,600 Kelvin. Away now, and starting at the lower end of the scale, we have single candle emitting around 1,000 Kelvin and considered to be very warm when used as the only light source. Coming up smartly now is regular light globe, running level with sunrise and sunset at about 2,500 Kelvin. Moving through the field is professional photo flood emitting about 3,200 Kelvins. Having a go at the 5,600 Kelvin mark is average daylight, the favourite here today, followed closely by fluorescent tube at 3,400. But don't be fooled, they often give off a green or bluish tinge. Nearing the end of scale now, an overcast and hazy sky are rated at 6,500 and 7,000 respectively, while finishing off in this field is a clear blue sky at 8,000 Kelvin. And while we wait for the dividends of the colour temperature stakes, we make mention that any subject shot at a high Kelvin reading will give a blue colouring to the image, while an image shot at a low Kelvin reading will give a reddish colouring to the image. Now, back to the studio.
Depending on your location, don't forget to always take the white balance into account. If you adjust your camcorder's white balance for an interior setting and then walk outside without readjusting the white balance, your exterior picture will appear blue. And in turn, if you've adjusted the white balance for outside and then record indoors, your picture will appear orange. This is due to the different light source, natural being daylight or tungsten artificial. Your camcorder sees these different light sources as different colors. Before you start shooting, select a white area, press the white balance control on your camcorder and let the camera adjust itself to the color. In this way, the camera is able to read the color situation of almost any scene, giving you natural, lifelike colour.
Hello, I'm Michael, and this is my Video Maker handy hint. If you want to warm up a scene, such as a romantic dinner for two, you do this by overriding or cheating the white balance using a piece of light blue card instead of something white. Now this will give you a wonderfully intimate effect. Trust me, been there, done that.
So far in this video, we've expanded on a few of the basic functions that your camcorder is designed to perform. Focusing, zooming in and out, different exposures, to name just a few. But all of these functions become virtually useless if you're missing one simple ingredient. Light. Every camcorder must have a certain amount of light available to it before its image sensor can pick out and record a picture. The intensity of light is measured in amounts referred to as lux. For example, candlelight emits around 10 lux, while sunlight can emit up to 100,000 lux.
The higher the lux, the better the picture. The lower the light, the grainier the picture becomes. In certain situations, however, additional lighting may be required. Investing in video lighting equipment guarantees you greater control over the quality of your recordings. So let's have a look at the 4 different types of lights most commonly used for home video work. The smallest, most portable video light contains a low wattage quartz globe, is battery operated, and attaches easily to the accessory shoe of most video camcorders. For lighting small groups, you may prefer a more powerful handheld version of the quartz lamp. With a shoulder pack battery that lasts for up to half an hour at a time, you're free to move about independently of your light source and can also get someone else involved in your project. When filming for extended periods of time, a mains-operated stand-mounted lamp may be more appropriate to your needs. Producing an even amount of light over a fairly large area, the stand-mounted lamp is perfect for raising the amount of available lux in most indoor situations. An adjustable mains quartz lamp is by far the best light for illuminating wider areas. The 4 hinged flaps, or barn doors, can be used to direct the beam of light as wide or as tight as you require, giving you a chance to be creative with your lighting. So now that we've seen what sort of lights are available, let's look at some of the ways we can effectively use lighting to enhance our video presentations. These rules will apply to both indoor and outdoor situations, depending on the amount of existing light already available to you. When lighting a fairly stationary subject, we first position what is called the key light. This provides the main source of light on our subject and is placed to one side of the camera at about 45 degrees above eye level. But this creates ugly shadows. Next, we place the fill light on the other side of the camera opposite the key light. This lamp is used to raise the level of light on the subject and fill in the shadows created by the key light, therefore giving a softer feel to your shot. A light placed behind the subject illuminates the back of your subject and separates him or her from the background. This backlight may be as hard or as soft as you like, depending on the effect you wish to create. Finally, you may wish to position a background light which is used to illuminate the area behind your subject. Try experimenting with this lamp, perhaps using coloured gels or placing cutouts or gobos between the lamp and the subject to create different shadowed effects in the background. Basically, there are 3 ways to manipulate the light for video work: directly, indirectly, or by bouncing or diffusing it. Strong light directed straight onto a subject will produce high contrasts and sharp shadows, depending on how close your lamp is to your subject and how wide the spread of direct light is. The closer and brighter your light is to your subject, the darker your background will be. Indirect lighting is achieved by reflecting or bouncing your light source off a white or reflective surface. This method is ideal for close-up work, as the softer spread of illumination doesn't dazzle or blind your subject and causes less shadow. By placing a diffuser between the source of light and your subject, you create a pleasant, less contrasted light, producing a gentle, even mood. There are a number of different diffusers available on the market. Please don't use tracing or greaseproof paper. While they look the same, they're not. Tracing or greaseproof paper will eventually burn or even catch fire. Your local photographic store will help. Placed about 4 inches in front of your lamp, this simple method of diffusion will instantly produce a noticeable difference to the quality of light on your subject. It may also be an advantage to purchase a dimmer unit at some stage. Found in most electrical stores, the dimmer switch controls the intensity of your light, giving you greater options when lighting a shot. It takes a bit of time to become a confident lighting director, but with a little practice, you'll be able to do it with your eyes shut.
Hello, this is Frank, and this is my Video Maker handy hint. When changing the globes in your lights, avoid handling them with your bare fingers. Oh, don't pick it up, Betty. The oils and perspiration on your skin will shorten the life of the bulb if it comes into contact with your fingers. When changing a globe, use a cloth or a handkerchief.
No, just go down a bit. No, back off a bit. No, across. No, down. That's it, stop.
My Mona, she's so beautiful, yes? Just a little bit more smart, please, Mona. But she would be nothing without my perfect composition. Today, I will show you all of my secrets. Firstly, we divide the screen into thirds. This way, then this way.
This is called the rule of thirds. And it is on these lines that you should position your subject. For Mona, I put her here on the intersection of these two lines. This gives her looking room. How about a little smile, eh, Mona? But let's say instead of Mona, we have a beautiful landscape, huh? And place the horizon either here or even here. Although you may be tempted, never put the horizon on the halfway line. The rule of thirds is used by photographers and artists throughout the world. It even works on the moving pictures. For instance, if someone is running, then give them running room. See how she would look without it? There, with the secret of the rule of thirds, you should be able to become a great artiste like myself. But I think no one can make my Mona smile. Hold it right there!
The composition of your shots could make the difference between a good video and a great one. Of equal importance is the framing of each shot. This simply refers to how wide or tight you zoom in or out to frame your subject in each shot. Here, our subjects are included in a nice long shot or wide shot. This sets up the scene and shows the viewer the general surroundings. If we zoom closer, we create what's called a medium shot. This takes us closer to the subject, and we can include the audience in the action. Framing tighter still creates a close-up. This shot is used to direct the viewer's attention towards the action of one particular subject, or to focus in on an important detail. And finally, zoom in as tight as possible, and you've framed, you guessed it, an extreme close-up. Framing this tightly can add a sense of drama and intensity to your camera work. When used effectively, the ECU can highlight minute detail and greatly enhance your video production. Finally, it's not necessary to frame or follow every one of your subject's actions during a shot. Experiment with your camcorder. Try keeping the camera still and let your subjects walk in and out of the shot. And be aware of when and how you finish each shot. Keep recording until your subject has completed his move, or when you are happy that you've captured the shot that you require, then turn off. Being aware of these few simple things will give your video work a smooth, flowing, continuous feel, rather than a jerky, disjointed look.
Oh, where in the... is Danny McMaster?
I'm sorry, mate, I was out the back doing...
If Your Majesty is ready, we'd like to continue.
Well, I'm ready to go, but what section are we up to?
Recording soon.
Sound. Sorry, mate, sorry. So far throughout this video, we've concentrated mainly on the visual functions of your camcorder and made very few references to the recording of sound. Now, while the pictures are an important part of any video presentation, the soundtrack can make the difference between an average shoot and an entertaining piece of video. Every camcorder is fitted with a built-in microphone to simultaneously record the sound as you film. Now, the type of microphone may vary depending on the brand of camcorder you own, but essentially, they all record in the same way. For greater sound control over the many different environments you'll find yourself filming in, it's an idea to invest in a good quality external microphone. Anything from the simple handheld mic to the more expensive radio lapel, or even the shotgun mic that we're using on this particular shoot. You can even invest in a little 3-channel mixer that brings 3 microphones down to 1 socket. Now, you check your manual to find out which type of mic socket your camera has, then all you have to do is choose the mic best suited to your needs.
All right, who's cut to the graphics?
The omnidirectional microphone records sound coming from all directions. These mics are used most commonly in home video cameras. The unidirectional or cardioid microphone mainly records sound coming in from one direction and therefore must be aimed directly towards the source you wish to record. This mic is perfect for recording conversations or interview situations, often like many television reporters use. It's ideal for picking up the general ambience of each location you are filming in and for recording a variety of sounds within one shot. The superdirectional or gun microphone is designed to pick up and record specific sounds from a longer distance than most mics could reach. They must be aimed directly at the source and are of most use when your subject is far away or you are surrounded by other extraneous noise. The clip-on microphone is small and easily concealable, making it ideal for interview situations or the recording of speech at special functions.
It can be placed on a desk or clipped to clothing, and as it is omnidirectional, sound is picked up from all angles. For those willing to spend a little extra cash, a cordless FM version might suit your needs better. Working without the hindrance of an attached microphone cable means that you and your subject are free to move around without restriction, and yet you're still able to record the sound as it happens. When recording with an external microphone, it's a good idea to monitor the sound using a pair of quality headphones. In this way, you can hear exactly which sounds are being recorded and adjust your microphone or camera position accordingly. When recording sound in an outdoor situation, the most common problem encountered is wind noise. Now, in most cases, this can be simply combated by shielding the camera and its microphone with your body, or by placing a windsock over your external microphone. If the wind noise is excessive, ask someone to hold up a plastic or cardboard shield to deflect the wind away from the microphone. The same applies to the external mic on your camcorder, but it's a good idea to wear headphones to monitor the sound that you're recording so that you'll know straight away whether you're getting that annoying scratching wind noise or clean, audible sound. So remember, when you're filming, keep an ear on your audio, because who knows, there may be some things you just don't want to hear.
What do you want to hear him? Hey, don't touch that plug. Go on, clear off, you No!
Hi, this is Kang here. Remember, when using any microphone, even the one in your camcorder, you keep it pointed to the source of the sound throughout the entire shot, right? As panning away will cause your subject to go off mic, which sounds pretty crummy. And, thank you very much.
When a professional cameraman has all the shots he needs for a particular sequence, he hands them to this man, called an editor. The editor then carefully assembles each shot on a separate tape in the order and length that is required in the story. It's often a very long and complicated process. As a home video owner, you don't have the time or the money to have your footage professionally edited. So to keep your story intact and to keep each individual scene at a interesting, watchable length, why don't you try a technique called in-camera editing? In-camera editing basically means deciding on the type of shots you want ahead of time, planning the order they'll appear in and the length of time you need to shoot them for before you even switch your camcorder on. What you then end up with is an interesting sequence or story edited together in the camera, in the exact order you intended. Now let's see how we do on a trip to the zoo using a basic shot list. Outside the zoo, we quickly establish where we are and what we're going to see with an introductory shot. Yes, good-looking fellow. Once inside, we point to where the animals are to build a sense of expectation. And using a close-up, establish exactly where we'll be heading off to first. A nice action shot as we approach the cage. And some various shots of the inhabitants, about 5 seconds each, to ensure that the viewer isn't put to sleep through watching hours of unnecessarily long footage. I wonder where he could be off to now. An informative plaque describing our next guest. He actually looked pretty interesting on this particular day, so we gave the viewer a good look at him. But every situation is different, and with practice you'll learn how to judge when a subject is worth looking at, or when it's just plain dull and boring. Perhaps we can rectify this lull in the video with a snap of the fingers. An easy-to-perform special effect, transporting us to yet another point of interest. And finally, after a hard day's filming, our star signs off. With a little bit of forethought, a trip to the zoo, or anywhere else for that matter, can be lots of fun for you and your viewers to watch. Just remember, when editing in the camera, to be aware of the type of shots you are joining together. Avoid running pan shots together, as this interrupts the flow of the story and confuses the viewer. Film only small amounts of each stationary subject and keep any long action shots interesting. And don't forget to make sure the camera is not in record mode between shots. By having an idea of what you want to film, you'll end up with a very watchable piece of video entertainment. With all the great hints and techniques we've shown you so far, you should now have some great-looking footage. But how do you make your video presentation look that little bit more professional? How about adding titles? Now, some camcorders are equipped with the facility to add titles while you're shooting. And while that's fine, they don't allow you much creative freedom. What we're going to look at is some interesting ways of adding titles that needn't cost you a fortune.
In one's life, titles are most important. Duke of this, Earl of that, they can all become quite tiresome after a while. However, here are a few of my most favorite titles. The easiest of all is to simply write your title on the sheet of light-colored paper with a marker pen, and then shoot this with your camera. If one wants to make it look really neat, you might like to try using a stencil. If you're jolly clever, you could use one of these clever little rub-on letters. These cards can be combined to make a flip chart, making them easier to shoot. A typewriter is an effective way to add movement to a title. If you're away on a holiday, find a way to make one's title relevant to one's destination. Here's an interesting but slightly distasteful way to make credits. I find birthday cards and invitations always make an absolutely smashing introduction. If you use your imagination, there are endless ways to get one's message across. Finally, if one's means allow, a quite spiffing presentation can be produced with one of the many programs available for the home computer. Titles. I personally wouldn't be without one. Hello, Charles again. I forgot my video maker handy hint. When making up titles, it's important to keep the same style throughout the entire film to ensure continuity. That's all.
Would you believe that when a TV crew does an interview, they have 25 cameras positioned strategically at every possible point around the subject just in case anything happens? No? Would you believe they have a camera at every corner? No? Would you believe that they have just one camera that works to only one side of an imaginary line?
The imaginary line is a rule that has been around since the dawn of film. It can be used with any number of cameras and is simply a line drawn between the main characters or subjects that establishes their relative positions in the mind of the viewer. Which means the camera can go here or here, but never here. The camera can go way over here, but never around here. To cross the imaginary line would confuse the viewer's perspective of the shot.
Would you believe that this same imaginary line is used in shooting motorsport?
The cars must always travel in the same direction through the frame. Otherwise, the viewer's mind will expect them to crash into one another.
Sorry about that.
As well as employing the rule of the imaginary line, visual flow concerns the overall continuity of the storyline, so that each individual scene makes sense when edited together onto a master tape. For example, you may start with a wide shot to establish location, then cut to a closer shot to introduce the characters. Once you have their position established, you can cut back and forth as the story continues, just as long as you don't cross the imaginary line.
One more thing. No, two more things. Actually, two more things and a hint.
Firstly, use the imaginary line to establish the relative positions of your subjects. And secondly, don't cross the imaginary line unless you're ready to re-establish the position of the subjects.
Why? Don't tell me the camera will disappear.
Could do.
I asked you not to tell me that.
My goodness gracious me. Yes, don't you worry about the whole thing. This is my video maker, Handy Hint. The best way to plan good visual flow, Florence, is to start with one of these. It's a, what is it? Oh, yes, that's right. It's a storyboard. Look, never let it be said, so I won't. So there.
Have you ever wondered how the director of a feature film remembers what to shoot next? Well, of course, he's got a script, but he also uses a storyboard, which looks something like this. A storyboard gives you a visual representation of the flow of the film and a fairly accurate idea of how the shot should look in terms of camera angle, focal length, and so on. In fact, before any professional director uses his creative talents on a film, he must first shoot the board, as they say. And as the storyboard will often change as the film progresses, the director will have a storyboard artist on hand on the set. Storyboards can be a help in improving your visual flow, helping you keep track of what's coming up next in your story and letting you cut down on footage that you shoot. They don't have to be as fancy as this one. All they need to do is to remind you of what comes next and maybe how you want to shoot it. Let's say, for instance, you're shooting a car chase. This is how the storyboard might look.
The cars come screeching around this corner just as a lady pulls her dog out of their path. And they come over this hill, the cop car spins out, crashes into a bus, and then the Porsche can escape down the alley.
That's just an example of one story you can create using a little forethought and imagination. In all, a simple script or storyboard can be a cameraman's best friend. But if you find storyboarding a little beyond you, then you can simply write a script or running sheet like the one used for this segment. Whoa, General Maintenance reporting for duty.
General, how was your flight?
Rough.
You just follow me?
The most important factor in preventing damage and unnecessary equipment failure is to avoid exposing your camera to certain elements and unsuitable conditions. For a camcorder to perform at its best, it must be kept clear of dust, sand, and other abrasive elements. If you have to clean the casing, do so with a damp cloth, but avoid using abrasive cleaners or solvents, as these can scratch and deface your camera. If you're filming near water, shield the camera from any spray or moisture with a raincoat or plastic covering. Or, for complete protection, invest in a waterproof housing. Use an umbrella for cover when shooting for long periods in the hot sun to protect both camera and operator. And remember, never shoot into direct sunlight, as this can cause permanent damage to your CCD image sensor. Fitting an inexpensive sky or UV filter to your lens will provide further protection and could end up saving you a fortune. Also, never leave your camera exposed in your car. Not only do you risk it being stolen, but if left in direct sunlight, the outer casing may warp, causing extreme internal damage. When cleaning the lens of your camcorder, use a blower brush, lens tissue, and special lens fluid. Never hand towels or abrasive cloth. Your viewfinder lens, however, may be gently cleaned with a long cotton bud. If your automatic focus facility is functioning, avoid turning the focus ring manually, as this strains the motor and quickly flattens the batteries. As the cassette housing is a frequently used moving part, special care must be taken when loading and removing videotapes. Make sure you have it face up, with the flapped end going into the camera first. If the machine will still not accept a cassette, check the tape casing for damage or the housing for obstructions. Never force the cassette, as you will only cause further problems. If your tape looks like this, don't ever insert it into your camcorder. Creased, chewed up, dirty, and stretched videotape can permanently damage the machine's heads and hinder the camcorder's functions. If you plan to clean your camcorder's heads yourself, only use a wet head cassette. That's a head cleaning tape that's filled with a few drops of a special cleaning fluid before use. To protect your valuable equipment during transportation or storage, it's recommended that you keep it in a strong, sturdy, hard case, with each individual item fitting into a specially shaped foam compartment. Always remove the battery from its housing before storage and inscribe each item with an ultraviolet marker or engraving tool for easy identification. As you'll already know, video equipment is not a cheap item to replace. So, as well as observing these storage and safety tips, Make sure that your camera and other equipment is fully insured against damage and theft. By following these few practical guidelines and using basic common sense, you will greatly reduce the risk of damage or breakdown to your valuable equipment. If you do require technical assistance, however, make sure you consult an expert in major repairs.
Whoa, major repairs. Hey, pleased to meet you. Yo.
Hello, I'm Harold, and this is my video maker handy hint. When transporting your video equipment in damp or humid conditions, keep a few bags of silica gel inside the carry case. This will absorb atmospheric humidity and keep moisture away from your camera gear.
When a professional cameraman wants to achieve a certain look, he may decide to attach a filter to his camera lens. As well as adjusting the texture of a shot or compensating for varying light conditions, filters can add interest to a cloudy day, make the bride look even more radiant, or create interesting special effects. As we mentioned in care of equipment, it's a good idea to buy a clear ND filter to protect the lens of your camcorder. Although the difference will be negligible in cutting out UV rays, it will protect the lens from scratching and damage. Diffusion filters diffuse strong, harsh light, softening the highlights, making bright lights glow. They come in different grades. The higher the grade, the more the glowing effect. They are commonly used to make skin look softer and hair look silkier. Fog filters add a touch of dream and mystery to your videos. They create a soft, misty effect, producing halos around lights. Star filters allow you to transform light sources into a shower of stars and give a more brilliant look to your picture. 2, 4, 8 or 16-point stars will create as many stars as there are light sources, like city lights, birthday candles, or reflections on metal and glass. The polarizing filter gives ideal saturation to your colors, improving the contrast. By checking your framing through the viewfinder and by turning the filter, you'll better understand the merits of reflection-free pictures. The sky becomes bluer, the background clearer, and shop windows more transparent. Warm tone filters lend a natural coloring to your pictures by warming up and correcting ambient light. In portrait work, these filters enhance your model's suntan, whatever the location or period of year. These slightly orange-tinted filters can give the impression that you've just spent a week in the sun. A graduation filter is half clear and half colored. In location shots, they allow you to dramatize skylines, stimulate sunsets, and intensify colors. A graduated ND filter is ideal for overbright skies. Line up your filter along the horizon to disguise the change in color. The use of filters will add a whole new dimension to the way you view your home videos. Of course, prices vary depending on the type and quality of filter that you purchase, but with proper care and handling, you'll be in for hours of creative fun. Ask your local video camera dealer about the different sorts of filters that would best suit you and your camera.
Girls, 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 stop what you're doing. This is Richard, and this is my Video Maker handy hint. You don't have to spend a fortune to get the effect of soft focus filter. A quick squirt of hairspray on a clear sky or UV filter will recreate the effect perfectly. A black silk stocking over the lens will also give you a similar effect, especially with bright key lights. All right, girls, back to work, back to work.
Welcome back. So far, we've had a look at the two basic ways you handle your video camera when filming, from a handheld position and when mounted on a tripod. In this section, we'll investigate some of the ways to make your home videos more creative by experimenting with different types of camera movements. To allow you to follow the action with the smooth, gliding movements, you may wish to mount your camera on a wheeled trolley or a platform called a dolly. Use whatever is close at hand, a skateboard, a wheelchair, a shopping trolley, anything mobile. Adjustable clamps hold the tripod's feet in position, and large rubber swivel wheels make it easy to maneuver the camera. Tracking is the technique of rolling the camera alongside, in front of, or behind a moving subject, and filming the action as it happens. It is also used to move the camera toward or away from a stationary subject. When using these techniques, make sure that your dolly is placed on a flat, level surface and that the lens is open to wide angle to minimize vibration. Move the dolly at a steady, even pace. Avoid jolting it when starting and stopping. And make sure that your intended pathway is clear of obstructions. Of course, not everyone can afford a dolly as part of their standard video setup, but with a little imagination and some creativity, you'll be surprised at what you can utilize to achieve sporting results in the wide, wide world of video. But in some cases, when you really want that great point of view, or POV shot, a tripod and dolly may not be practical or appropriate for the surroundings you have to film in. In some situations, you may require a helmet mounting for your camcorder to enable you to keep both hands free. Perhaps a bracket mounting would be better if filming from a car or motorbike is necessary. Or for the real enthusiast, a lightweight Steadicam unit might be the thing for keeping those tricky shots under control. Used by film and television professionals around the world, the Steadicam employs a system of counterweights to steady the camera. Whatever special requirements you may have, your local video retailer can help you find the perfect equipment that's just right for each individual video project. Well, by now you should be a virtual master of your machine, a video camera operator of the first degree, and no doubt you just want to dash straight out and utilize all those newfound talents. Well, in this final section, we're going to show you some of the more common subjects or situations you could find yourself filming in. We want to help you to set those up and execute them in the best possible manner. So, let's start with one of the most popular events you will find the video camera at, the wedding. This is a good example of an event you want to plan ahead for. In other words, know which shots you want to take long before you get there. First of all, what will you need? Your camera, a tripod, because some weddings seem to go forever, extra batteries, filters, and at least one blank tape. Because most weddings run to a schedule, you should have no problems in writing yourself a running sheet of the shots that you'll need. Perhaps start the tape with a shot of the wedding invitation, an inexpensive and personalized way to title the video. Depending on your taste and that of the bride and groom, you may like to include a brief history of the couple, featuring various photos of them growing up and their respective families. This can be prepared weeks in advance. After that, head off to the bride and groom's homes to show them getting ready for their big day. The perfect opportunity to use your brand new soft filter. You may also like to try your interview skills. Find out how they feel and whether or not they're nervous and so on. You should then get to the church in plenty of time to set up and await the arrival of the bride and groom. It's important that you've been to the church prior to the actual day to meet the minister and pick the best shooting positions. Taking note of where the bride and groom will stand, where the light will be, whether you'll be blocking any of the guests' view by shooting in certain positions, whether any trees will cast shadows on the day, and if any obstruction will hinder your shots. But the most important rule of shooting weddings is to stay out of the way. Finally, the wedding cars have arrived, you're all set up, ready to go, when, oh no, the battery's gone flat. But you've remembered your spare, haven't you? Well done. Let's head inside now and finish getting ready with a couple of pieces of handy equipment, the tripod and the extension microphone. If you can't afford a radio mic setup, simply place a microphone in an inconspicuous position near the pulpit. Don't be tempted to dart all over the place during the service, as you're bound to miss something important while you're looking elsewhere. If you want another angle, set up another camera. If you've done your pre-planning, it should be just a matter of highlighting the various special moments throughout the service. The exchange of vows, the rings being put on, the kiss of course, and the signing of the register. Perhaps during the singing of a hymn, you could unobtrusively move position to gain a shot of the bride and groom as they move back down the aisle. After the service, things get easier. Everyone will want to congratulate the happy couple and get pictures of them. So get a few shots yourself on camera and then move back and film their family and friends congratulating them. The only real trap you can fall into at the reception is during the speeches. Sitting through a video where the speeches are barely audible over the noise of the guests makes for really uninteresting viewing. So if you can't get close, use an extension mic.
we hear all the time. Of course.
To complete the day's shooting, perhaps a shot of the bride and groom leaving for their honeymoon could be included. You could also include shots of their guests leaving the reception and maybe even record one or two of them sending special messages to the newlyweds. As soon as you buy a camcorder, anybody who plays sport also becomes your best friend. If you can't avoid the situation, here's how to make those sporting videos look great. What will you need? Your camera, preferably one with a good telephoto zoom, plenty of tape and plenty of extra batteries, a good tripod with a smooth pan. Alternately, you may choose to use a monopod, a one-legged camera stand which is easy to lug around and helps you execute smooth panning shots. Because you'll be more than likely to be outside, you may need to take a camera cover in case of rain. This can be as simple as a large garbage bag which will cover both you and the camera. Once out on the field or court, position yourself as high as practical, roughly near the halfway mark. And remember the golden rule of the imaginary line: don't cross the playing area. If a team is playing in one direction, then without any warning they suddenly start to head off in the other direction, you'll confuse the viewer no end. Next, it's important to stay with the play. Of course, this depends on the focal length of your lens and your skills as an operator. But nothing can be worse than being able to see the entire field, but not one bit of the action. If the game is fast and furious, settle for a medium shot. This allows you to see the play without letting it get away from you. If you have access to editing facilities, cut away occasionally to the scoreboard and also record the reaction of the crowd, perhaps when a goal is scored. You can then place these cutaways in their proper spots at a later stage. If editing in camera, plan to cut to the scoreboard as soon as a goal is scored. Sound is important to the atmosphere of any sporting event. Once again, if you have editing equipment, you can record the sound onto something like a portable cassette and match it to the pictures later. If not, direct your microphone towards the source of sound. Recording sporting events can be helpful for teams and individual athletes in analysing their performance and as a permanent record of the various games played throughout the season.
Listen up, Pilgrim, and listen good. This is my video maker handy hint. If your video is equipped with a shutter facility, you can use it to get professional slow motion replays. The higher the shutter speed, the sharper image when replayed in slow-mo. Also, when you play action back at normal speed, you get that creative step motion favored by the weekend sports programs. So from sports to travel, yo!
One of the dangers of purchasing your own camcorder is that everyone who has ever sung, played guitar, or who owns a set of spoons suddenly has visions of conquering the heady world of music video, with your help, of course. Making music videos can be fun, and they're a perfect opportunity to flex some creative muscle, especially if your talent is a little bit, different. So, let's look at what you'll need to make a simple yet effective music video. Obviously, your camcorder and at least 2 video cassettes, a tripod, batteries for location shots, microphones and cable if the performance is to be recorded live, and a VCR and audio playback system if filming to a pre-recorded track. A film clip is a form of art, just like the music itself. So feel free to be creative as you want. You're only limited by your imagination. The first thing to do is decide on the format of the clip. Will it be shot indoors or outside on location? Will the artist simply perform, or can you incorporate different images and scenes to help tell your story? Whatever your decision, commit it to a storyboard. This will help in the continuity of the recording and make individual shots easier to assemble at the editing stage. Let's run through the making of a basic video clip using a pre-recorded soundtrack as a guide. The easiest way to ensure synchronization between sound and pictures is to record the soundtrack onto a VCR unit and feed your camera directly into the recorder's video inputs. In this way, the band can mime to the sound coming from the VCR playback system as you record their actions with your camcorder. By shooting the entire song all the way through, you will have established a master tape. The master now has a complete version of the song, with audio and vision synchronized together. and it is onto this tape that you will edit any other shots or scenes you record. On a separate videotape, you can now shoot close-ups and other creative shots. Again, run the playback so your performers have a guide track to work to and consult your storyboard and master tape to aid in the continuity of your production. Once you have all the footage recorded, you can then move to the edit stage. By using a VCR recorder with a flying array's head, it is a simple matter of placing the various shots from your second cassette tape onto the master tape in the correct order of appearance. The hardest thing about insert editing is synchronizing the two shots together so that the sound and vision run smoothly. But don't worry, with a bit of perseverance, you'll get a feel for your machinery and end up making a great music clip. One last point. If the soundtrack is to be recorded live, simply set up an external microphone in a position that will record all the instruments equally and film the band performing the entire song. Or you could take the line out from the band's mixer and record this onto your VCR and use that tape as your master. And finally, the most common situation where you require the services of a camcorder is when you're heading off on that well-deserved holiday break. Whether you're heading overseas or just going bush, your video camera allows you to relive those special moments and share your experiences with family and friends. So, what will you need? As every trip is different, so too are your video requirements. At the very least, depending on where you are traveling to and the availability of space and power, your camera, a spare battery and extra tapes should suffice. However, you might want to include your tripod, video light, waterproof housing and extension microphone. But again, it depends on luggage room and transportability. Decide before you leave on whether you will edit in camera or at a later stage using an edit suite. If editing in camera, perhaps start the video with an interesting title setup, using brochures, tickets and passport if required. Some places don't allow video lights or even cameras on the premises. If travelling overseas, remember to include all sales receipts and any warranty documents that you received when buying your camcorder. This is most important when moving through customs, as without proof of purchase, you may be required to pay a tax on goods that you cannot prove you bought before leaving home. Once you reach your destination, you are free to shoot the sights and scenes of your choice, remembering to refer to your shot list or storyboard and keeping them smooth and interesting. Try and include a friend or family member in every shot. This will add extra interest and make your scenery shots more appealing to the viewer, giving the video a feeling of time and space. One thing to keep in mind too is that while what you see through your own eyes may be breathtaking and incredible, on video it may transfer to just a long, boring scenery shot. Try being creative. Give your viewer a sense of being there, not just of looking at a pretty picture. If visiting countries of different culture or custom, try and capture the uniqueness of the area. Film the general surroundings and include shots of the locals as they go about their day-to-day business. But make sure you ask permission first. In all, your video is there to reflect your own experiences while on holiday. So whether you're traveling just 10 or 10,000 kilometers, plan the video around your trip and not the other way around. After all, the main idea is to have fun, not to get bogged down lugging mountains of gear around.
Yeah, wacka, 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 this is the bear, and this is my Video Maker handy hint. After your merry trip away, it's important to store your tapes correctly to protect your precious memories. Remember to use the proper sleeves, rewind the tape, and store in an upright position. Keep them away from television sets and stereo speakers, as the magnetic fields may erase them. It's also useful to play them at least once a year, and for the best results, use the highest quality tape available. Ah!
Well, there you have it. A brief introduction into the many and varied facets of home video production. We trust that this video has promoted new ways of thinking and given you some ideas on how to tackle your next video project creatively. Sophisticated camcorders are becoming more lightweight and compact. Affordable editing suites are now available for use at home, and the picture quality obtainable on an average video camera is better than ever. There are many publications currently on the market to keep you up to date with new and changing technology. We recommend you take a look at Video Camera Magazine to keep in touch with all the new toys. It's a monthly magazine available nationally. Remember though, the key word vital to the success of any video presentation is practice. By taking the information, guidelines, hints and suggestions from within this video and putting them to practical use, you'll be well on the way to making interesting and entertaining home video movies that everyone will enjoy and want to see again and again. Happy filming, and we'll see you on Australia's funniest home videos.